Welcome to Timber&Terra. I'm Glenn. You might be wondering what I'm doing here in my basement. So this is my next project, and from the thumbnail you probably have an idea what it is. But this is my old wood boiler. It was attached to the oil boiler there. This hasn't run for 8 years, but it ran good for us for, I think, 15 years or so we had it. So burned wood in there, just heated, there's a water jacket. We'll see when we take this apart what it looks like. But there's a water jacket that surrounds sort of the wood box, and that's what transferred the heat from the wood fire to the water, and then the water just circulated constantly from the oil boiler to the wood boiler. This has since been replaced by this, which is a plate heat exchanger, and these pipes go to the outside wood boiler, which I have several videos on. You can look at that. But the project is going to start with removing this and putting it in the bulkhead there and lifting it out with my tractor. So before I do that, I've cleaned out the wood box and the ash pit as much as I can. But those are some extra grates, as well as that you can see the, I don't know what they're called, sort of a border, the metal borders. But these just come out, so I haven't done this forever. But these should just come right out. Maybe these come out first, I can't remember. So these have seen better days, but they still work in the final product. When I have the wood boiler going, I'm not sure if I'm going to use these or if I'm going to have something else in there instead. Get the grandkids visiting, so there's a little bit of background noise. And they're going to help me bring this out.
What's close down here? What?
I'm just looking at you.
With the camera?
Yeah, alright, they come out this way. So here's what these grates look like. So these grates are like this because this can burn coal. And I have burned coal before, not on a regular basis. I used it for wood. Occasionally the coal would sort of make the fire last longer. This is a rather small wood box, at least compared to my outdoor wood boiler. So this fire here, with this full, you'd be lucky in a cold day to last 4 to 6 hours. This boiler did not have fire bricks because it has that water jacket. So the water jacket was against the firebox here and basically kept the metal from deteriorating or melting, unlike these, which really had no protection. So you can see this little handle here moves the grate. So if you had coal in here, you could shuffle the grates, and then the coal ash would fall down into the ash pan. The other thing I'll mention is, before I started taking it apart, this was a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, and it did have this insulation, these insulation panels. I only have one left. The others I took to metal recycle, and I do have a picture of this, I think, sort of in its original form. I don't have any videos of it. This is the only image I have of the boiler. It's just the front, doesn't show much, but you can see, you know, the temperature and pressure gauge there to the left, and some of the controls wired there to the blower fan in the lower right. I didn't mention, but the brand of this boiler is a New Yorker. That's what the NY on that door vent signifies. Why do you think I'm moving the stairs? So, hopefully an easy path from there into here. And this is an old house, very low basement, so the bulkhead is not that far off from the floor. I don't think I've had this open for 20 years, 25 years. Guess it's time to clean this out. So I think this floor here, where my feet are, relatively smooth, and once we get it onto here, I think it'll slide fairly easily on the concrete. But this pad, which was poured basically when we moved in so we could have heat before we finish the rest of the basement, is rather rough. So to get it off this rough, we have these boards that might work better to slide it off that rough piece of concrete onto the smoother part. See how easy it slides here. Maybe we can do it. Maybe. So yeah, push that corner, we'll sort of pivot on this back corner. So that opened up a bit more space.
When we took a bath, it went up to that big pipe.
Yeah, it goes into the big pipe and goes out in the front yard. Well, below ground. Lots of extra room. I do have lots of extra parts. I guess I didn't realize how many of these grates I had. In fact, I must have replaced them soon before we quit using it, because that looks like it's very new. And the boiler looks small here inside this bulkhead, but so now we have easy access to lift this out, put it in the garage, and go to work.
I can't hold you right now because I'm videoing. I can hold you in a minute.
I normally have a fire like this every year, maybe every other year. Depends on how much stuff we collect. So a lot of this is going to be cut off ends of boards that I use. You can see some greens from my wife making wreaths and stuff. Just miscellaneous. Sometimes there's some wooden furniture we'll throw in there. But I like to have snow on the ground. I like to have a lighter breeze coming from the west so that any embers sort of just fall harmlessly out in the field and not on any structures.
Hi.
And the wind would have to come from the east to pose any danger to our house, which it almost never does here unless there's a weird storm. But as you can see, there's not really a lot of smoke. It's all clean wood. It burns pretty cleanly, nice and hot. There's a lot, in fact, this particular fire has a lot of dry wood in it, even though there's some greens there. Most of the fire is dry, seasoned wood. Yeah. You put the fire out!
Oh, you got it.
Got it.
I'm trying to get it out. Whoa.
I think it's been burning about an hour or so, maybe. It's just a big heap of burning coals now, for the most part. Melted some snow, big ring around the fire, except on the west side where the wind has kept it away.
No, Papa said your grandson is sucking lots of snowballs.
Well, this is the next morning, what's left of the bonfire. It's still smoky in there. If I was to push all this stuff into the center, it probably would start up again, but I don't have my tractors out to do that, and don't feel like doing it by hand. So I will eventually push this stuff into the center, and we'll just start another pile and burn it whenever it gets big enough. Probably a year from now, maybe sooner.
Is this the burn pile?
Yes, it is. It was. So this is one set or one chain of a set that I purchased brand new for the small tractor, the 20 horsepower Kubota. I went to put them on and I noticed this looked all funky. So this is how the chain is built and how it's supposed to look. So this is a continuous chain, you know, part of it is not studded, and then the part that is, you know, on the face of the tire is studded. But this is all a continuous chain and hooks back on this other side over there, and then it's connected to these other loops with these links here. But here there's obviously something wrong, because this is like twisted around, and there's no way that I can think of that this sort of got, you know, twisted around, or I could take and feed end through here and sort of untwist it without causing other problems. So I think what I am left to do is cut off this link, cut off that link, hoping that these twists are, because this is twisted on this side, this is twisted between the two links, I think, although maybe not, it's hard to tell. And then it's twisted over here. If I'm lucky, I can just take these two off, and these two will sort of untwist one another if they're in opposite directions and the same amount. Wow. Those are some hardened chains because it put a big dent in the anvil of this bolt cutter, but not a scratch on the. Now, will this untwist, or am I gonna undo some more? Oh, look at that. It did. So my choices here are to use these links again and weld them. But I think what I'll do instead, because I think it'll be a bit of a challenge and take a lot of time, is just get some quick links. Well, these are what quick links are. This one's 5/16, so it is slightly bigger than the link that it's replacing. You can see there, hopefully. I could have gone a 3/8, which would have made this opening a bit bigger, and I knew this was going to be a potential issue. So this doesn't quite slide in there. It does maybe on this one. I guess it does on this one, but on this one. Well, maybe it will. Anyhow, I will try to put these on. If it doesn't, I'll just grind this off a little bit, you know, take a 1/16 of an inch off that to allow it. It went on that one just fine. It went there fine. So if I did get a 3/8 quick link, would have made this gap wider, but it also would have made this quite a bit longer and much bigger than the original link. This one's a little bit bigger than the original link. Oh, there we go. I've used these quite a bit on tire chains before. I've not had an issue with them loosening up or coming off, even with them hand tight, but just to make sure. The other option I have if I choose to, is I could just tack weld that there, just to prevent that screw from coming undone ever. But not much of a big issue, and with this particular application for this tractor, it's not going to see a lot of hard use, and I'm not really worried about that. So I hadn't planned on putting these on the small tractor, but I guess since I've had this issue with this, which I guess was sort of a manufacturing mistake, we'll put these on, see how they look. So out here in my woodshed, which also doubles as a tractor garage, so this is the 20 horsepower Kubota that these new chains are going on. And this is basically where I left off when I realized that there was a twist in these studded chains on this side. So instead of sort of backing up and starting from scratch, I'll just put this one on and then put the other side on. So I've not used this particular style of, I don't know what you want, a clinching mechanism before. It looks pretty simple, and looks like this extra link here is what you'd hook this to. I mean, they're all very similar, but this specific style I'm not used to. So, Now I ordered these chains specifically for this size of tire, which is a 12 by 16 and a half. I'm guessing that these chains are made for a variety of tractor tire sizes, because this is way too much chain, so I'm gonna have to cut something off. So it looks like I'll cut 2 of these studded links off. So I already put the one on the inside, which is what I normally do, try to get it as reasonably tight as I can, and then take up the tension with the one that's easier to access. The other thing, which I did have an issue over there with the chains I had on this, which is a different story, I may talk about that in a bit, but it hit on that. As you can see there, I bent it back. And what I'll probably end up doing is putting some bungee cords on here to try to keep this taut so it doesn't hit this, and I probably will bend this out a bit, so if it does come up here, it'll just sort of wedge it in there next to the tire rather than bend it the opposite way like that one did. So the other one, I think I use this link. The inside one, I use this link. That'll at least be a starting point. You always need 3 hands to put these chains on, but I was only born with 2. As I struggle to put these together here, I have used ratchet straps before, and I probably will when I put the chains on my big tractor to sort of try to get these chains together, at least hold them while I can fasten them by hand. Not sure if it matters if I have the sort of the handle to this pin on the outside or the inside or what. I guess it'll lay flat. Or just be another one of these studs. Yeah, well, I think the same one, so I'll do the same thing to this piece and we'll come back. So I had to loosen this up to get this in. It made it a lot easier. So this will probably be a little bit tighter. There we go. There. I think if I just make a little bit of a lip like that, then if the chain does come around, then it's sort of inboard too far, it'll just sort of wedge it in there where it belongs. For this other side, I won't go through the entire process, but I'll just show you how I sort of wrap the chain around. You saw the end of it on that, but I find this method works better for me even than the instructions say, which sort of drape it on the tire or drive onto it and then pull it up, which I find just very difficult to do either of those methods. Try to remember which link I used for the other side. Only be the same. Should be. So I'll do the same thing, cut these off. Probably be able to take up a link on one side, maybe both sides. And then put some bungee cords on there, tighten it up, and I'll show you the finished product. So I've got these all tightened up, and I think I'm lucky enough, I guess I can say that, to be able to get these all tightened up on basically the last link that I can use before I'd have to get back here, and that would require me moving this, which wouldn't be the funnest thing in the world. So I was able to go on this same link on all 4 connections, the inner and outer for both left and right tires. And that is pretty tight. I did leave one link here. I cut off, I think, 4. This is much softer chain, so I was able to cut those 4 links off from all 4 sides with the bolt cutters. That made it a little bit quicker work. I have this on, left a link here, so for some reason in the future, if I need to use this to sort of put the chains on before I need to ride around and sort of get them set and then take up another link. So that's there if I need to in the future on all 4 of them. Here's the repair we did, the quick links, so they will ride on the ground a bit. So what? Not a big deal. If for some reason these ever become problematic, that's easy enough to replace. But these chains are really nice. They ride really smoothly. Everything is basically the same diameter. I don't have any big links sticking out like I did with the chains that used to be on it, which in my opinion were sort of undrivable, and I had the clearance issues. So I don't think I'm going to need bungee cords on here. It looks as though I'm going to have enough clearance. I'll put the camera down here and we'll take a bit of a ride just in here, and we'll look at the clearance looks like, but I think it'll be okay. So that should do it for the chains. I'm really happy with those. I do have the same type of chains, the same studded chains for both sets, the front and the rear tires. So here in the next couple videos, I'm going to put the chains on this tractor. I've done that before, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but I have had comments or questions about putting chains on all 4 tires on a tractor. So I'll go over that when the time comes and I put the chains on here, but that'll be in preparation for logging, so that'll be another video. I did take the pipe off the back, and this is the pan that I bought for the sap. So obviously this pan is longer than the boiler is deep, so I am going to have to do something extending the back, plus the pipe, the flue for this is going to go vertical, so I'm going to have something that comes way back here and go up, so I'm going to have to add to the back of this. But so I can get a better idea of where to cut this. This is an access plate for, I think if you wanted to put a hot water heating coil for domestic hot water, that would go in here, but I never use that, so that was just blanked off. Might come in handy. That's kind of neat. So you can see all these solid rods. These connect the inner and the outer plate. I don't know, there might be a 1 or 2 inch gap. That is sort of the water jacket. But since this operates under pressure, and this tag probably says like a maximum of 30 psi or something like that. So with pressure in here, then without these welded pins to connect each side, then this would sort of blow out. You know, it would sort of balloon out with that pressure. there's a peek inside. See in the far edge there is that, it doesn't even look like maybe an inch. The water jacket, but so these are these studs that sort of hold the inner and outer wall together. This is a plug. I can't remember if I had to replace it or not, but it's sort of a fusible plug. So if this was to go dry, or if the firebox was to overheat, the idea is this plug would melt and it would relieve pressure, and if there was any water in here, the water would spray on the fire and if not put it out, cool it down. We'll get a much better look at this when I cut the top off. But I need to figure out where to cut it. So I guess anywhere below this surface here, so, and maybe below these studs. So I have this saw which I've used only for tin roofing. So I bought a blade with I think 40 or 50 teeth. This one has, I think, 30. So this is a coarser blade, which I think is better for thicker material. So I have, you can see the white line here where I've decided where to cut it. So my plan is to cut through the outer skin first, and then I should have enough depth. I mean, this looks to be about 2 inches. I may not, so we'll see if I can do the bottom layer with this or not. So I'll just try it and see. You can see some of the creosote in there actually started to glow with the hot embers being thrown in there. So all the way around the perimeter has been cut, at least the outer shell. So I used the combination of that circular metal saw and the cutoff wheel, basically like an 1/8 or 3/32 cutoff wheel. So now I think what I'm going to do to get the inner skin or inner wall is my reciprocating sawzall. Had really good luck with this blade. That's a Diablo. I think it's 8 teeth per inch, and it doesn't dull very easily. And it cuts really fast. But with this amount of material, 1/4 inch plate, it may take more than one blade. But I'll give it a shot and we'll see how it goes. I do have some cutting lubricant, which hopefully will help. So hopefully you can see there the light shining through. So I did poke a hole through it. So up there in the corner, hopefully you can see that little slit that we started in the corner. Now that I can just cut the single thickness of that 1/4 inch, it should go a lot faster. Well, that's one side. 3 more to go. Not going too badly. The blade seems to be sharp still. These blades are nice, but they're not cheap as expected. I think they're about $9 or $10 a piece. But if I can do this, say, in 1 or 2 blades, that's money well spent in my opinion. Sort of an anticlimactic end, and I think the reason is, and I can't see it, but you can. I'm guessing there are 2 cuts in there. And the issue I had both in this, for sort of finishing up this corner, and in the back where the flue was attached. Particularly when I come from different directions, the blade, because the blade is cutting, in here, not on this surface. So the blade will wander up a little bit or wander down, and they don't meet. They don't meet exactly, so. But I think it's loose enough. You can see some movement there where I can probably pry it apart, and hopefully there's just a little bit of metal in there that I can bend. I did want to show you the blades. I ended up getting a couple more. One, I needed 2 to finish that. And I still, the blade on the saw is still sharp, so I can still use it. But these blades are like $13 a piece, so yeah, they're not cheap, but boy, they work tremendously well. If I was to use sort of regular blades like this, it says bimetal, which I think, because Diablo has a bunch of these, and this is 50 times longer than standard reciprocating blades. I think bimetallic might be advertised as 2 or 3 times, and I'm guessing by standard blade they probably mean like high-speed steel, basically the softest cutting blade that you can get. But this works really well, and even for 13 bucks a piece, the stuff that I've used this for, it's well worthwhile. You can see this is the other corner where I had trouble with this piece of metal, holding it on. Now for thin metal, these cheaper blades work fine. Well, there it is. There's that water jacket. Looks to be maybe 1.25 inches wide. You saw me cut through this. This actually went relatively easily. I was surprised. These 2 pieces of angle iron, there was a piece of metal that went in here. In fact, I'll put it on. That went just like that. And the purpose of that baffle was, so the fire's going on down here, so if this baffle didn't exist, the fire and all the heat would just immediately go up here. So with this baffle in place, in fact it was, I had to weld it here, you can see it cracked from the heat. It bent quite a bit. But anyhow, so with this baffle in place, It sort of forces the heat, it radiates it sort of back towards here, forces the fire and hot gases to go up basically against the top. So this is the top, this is the back, before it exits the boiler. It was pretty effective. It was a good boiler. Biggest thing is it just had limited capacity for fuel, for wood, and it did cause a lot of creosote buildup in my chimney, so it didn't burn the hottest, perhaps because it was giving up so much heat here before it exited, so the gases weren't that hot when it exited. I did have a temperature, a thermometer on the exit, and I tried to keep it in the best burn, but it still seemed to build up a lot of creosote. So that took a lot of weight off. Interesting. And you can see these pins, how they sort of hold the sides together, so when it's pressurized they can't sort of balloon apart. Yeah, so these also created a little bit of a slowdown. There's a lot of material there to cut with a reciprocating blade. So how this thing goes together, it may not have been quite as clear when I was taking them out. But they go down there. A little handle here is used to agitate the grates, and cause the coal and the ash to fall down. Particularly important for a coal fire. I did use it a little bit for the wood, but it probably wasn't necessary. And then you can see the border, which is sort of upside down here. Both of these would burn out eventually. But that just sort of sets there to protect the corner. So, I have a lot of thinking to do. So it's going to sort of sit like that. So the sides here, this will be fine because I'm going to have fire brick, which will be this 1-inch thick fire brick that I got to figure out how to attach to the side. So that'll more than make up that gap. Obviously I'm going to cover the top here with probably some angle iron or something. The other consideration is this is the drain. So basically when you're boiling sap, I forget what the capacity of this is. It's probably, maybe 20 to 30 gallons, I'm guessing. So you'll boil it down, but you don't want to finish it off here because the fire generally is too hot. There's too much surface area. You'd go from not quite done to burnt in a flash. At least I would, and how I grew up doing it. So when near its finish, when there's maybe half, 3/4 of an inch of, syrupy sap left, you drain it off here in a spigot, take it in the house and finish it off in a pan where you can monitor it much better, regulate the heat, and you have a smaller surface area for the volume of liquid. So that's sort of a layout, and between taking this out, cutting the top off, the other extracurricular stuff we did, the chains, the bonfire, the video is probably long enough. So, and I got to figure out, I got to do some thinking, design this, how I'm going to modify this to fit this and to extend the firebox back here. So until then, I hope you stay tuned. This will probably be several more videos of constructing this. And then obviously come springtime, which here in northern Vermont for sap season is like the beginning of March. We'll see it in use. So thanks for tagging along. I appreciate it.